Hello, and welcome to the Pride of Detroit POD where cope is free. Cope is free. See this three is free. Chill. And what else? Cry. Cry is free too. As we are once again tasked with examining the remains of a Detroit Lions football game and trying to figure out what the hell happened. And hopefully, this won't entirely be about Jared Goff this time around. But we will see, considering where the attitude is after this one. That's right. We are coming to after Lions and Bengals. And it's not a pretty one. I am Chris Perfett, the adequate host, the Pride of Detroit POD spun out and whacked out from this one. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but we're going to find out in about 2 seconds. Jeremy Reisman, fearless leader at Detroit Online, live from the scene of the crime. Hello, Jeremy.
Hello, Christopher. Man, that was the worst game of the season. I think we can chalk that one up right away. Not a fun day today.
They at least ripped our heart out very early on. At least it didn't wait until the last second.
Yeah, I guess. The one when you don't have many things to be thankful when you're a Lions fan.
Getting it done early.
Yeah, getting it out of the way in basically the third quarter.
I'd say even sooner than that. I think this game was done at the half, but we're picking it apart now.
Yes.
Yeah. Third man of the show, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are we doing?
The least fun I've had with a football game this year. That's for sure. Not a very bold take, but yeah. Hey, here's your time to remind yourself it's a rebuild.
It is a rebuild. It is a rebuild, and this is therapy. This is therapy for us, for you, for your loved ones, for anyone who has dared to try to become a Lions fan at any point in time. And I do mean across all time. So on this little episode, we are tasked with dissecting what the hell happened when the Lions met the Bengals and somehow came out at the end 34-11. For those keeping track at home, 11 is the Lions side of things. And by the way, that 11 is like the most deceptive 11 of all time, coming in the fourth quarter, starting off with the saddest of field goals I have ever seen, and I am currently writing about, and a touchdown from DeAndre Swift after a run by Jared Goff, which that even Dan Campbell admitted was kind of stat padding at the end, where the offense is moving only because of prevent and cover two.
Lions got shut out in this game.
Yeah,
they got shut out.
Blown the fuck out.
They got shut out.
Virtually.
It's 34-0 in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't care anything about those 11 points. It didn't mean anything to me. This offense is a goddamn mess. There's no other way to put it. It's a mess. Nothing is working. And listen, like I even mentioned on the Madden Sim yesterday, if this is a tough matchup for this offense because the only thing that we've seen successful out of this offense all season is the run game. And what is the one thing that the Bengals defense does pretty well? Stop the run. And so we found out today what this offense looks like when there's not even a run game. And the answer is absolutely nothing. There's nothing that's going on well. The offensive line isn't blocking well. The wide receivers aren't going to where they need to be. TJ Hawkinson's not getting the yak that he needs to. And Jared Goff is a bum. I'm sorry. I don't even like using that word, but he sucked. Sucked. And listen, like, I'm going to say some positive things about this game later. I promise I will. But the offense is regressing. And coaching, I think, is all around is still pretty good. We're seeing young players get better. But it's not getting better on offense. And why do you think that is?
Jared Goff.
I'm sorry.
Jared Goff. He's a sea anchor.
He's know.
He's a sea anchor. He's dragging everything down with him.
I know the personnel is horrible. I know the injuries are killing everybody. I know they're missing some leaders on this team in Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow. But listen, like they're open receivers now. Like these aren't great receivers, but we all saw the replays of open guys, and we saw the like T.J. Hawkinson and Jared Goff
Been
have
like
been
this
locked,
all year, though.
Jared Goff and T.J. Hawkinson have been locked at the hip for 6 straight months, and you're telling me that wheel again, a great play call. Like, the play was there. The Lions set these players up to succeed, and someone messed up. And listen, am I willing to believe T.J. Hawkinson maybe ran the wrong route there or ran his route a little too wide or whatever? Sure. But when these things keep happening over and over again, and Jared Goff is the common denominator, he's the common denominator. The end. Like, this offense runs through him, and they need to put it on his shoulders in games like this, and he's just complete. Like, you put a thimble on that guy's shoulder and he collapses.
I don't know if it's not going to go down in history as one of the most baffling decisions by a quarterback, just because it wasn't flashy. It wasn't the butt fumble. It wasn't Dan Orlovsky running out of the end zone, but Goff deciding to throw the ball away on 4th and 4 with DeAndre Swift wide open. And we later find out that the reason why Jared Goff throws the ball away is that he thought the holding call was going to be accepted. Somehow his entire brain shut down and forgot that teams can decline penalties and thus turn it over on downs. Is emblematic of is emblematic of all the decision making that Jared Goff is getting up to right now. And Dan Campbell I thought in the press conference afterwards, I want to talk about that a little later because I got to let Ryan in, but that press conference afterwards, Dan Campbell was tried like hell to be diplomatic about Jared Goff. And I think he succeeded mostly all right, but I don't think he needs to say much because it's there for everyone to see. It's there for everyone to see that Jared Goff is making horrible decisions. And yeah, like, the personnel isn't great. There's injuries. But if your quarterback isn't making smart decisions to lead the offense, none of that matters. It doesn't matter who you have.
He can't execute. He can't make plays. I don't think there's anything more emblematic of Jared Goff than that series. 3rd and 4, he misses T.J. Hawkinson. He missed him. That's what it was. He missed him. 4th and 4, throws the ball away because he sees a flag and thinks that it's going to be holding. Who cares what that flag does? Go make a play. Throw the ball down the field. Try to force a defensive pass interference so the penalty's offset and you get another chance to live on another down.
Yep.
It was one of the worst plays I've ever, to be honest, I think it's worse than Dan Orlovsky running out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, it's just not as flashier as it's not going to make oops highlight reels because it's kind of on.
No, because he doesn't have Jared Allen running after him, hooting and hollering and pointing at him. Like, that's why it became what it was. And also Dan Orlovsky's a boob. So, I mean, that's just what it is. But like, the problems with Jared Goff let us know who he was in LA. He was a guy who was propped up by for his time, like, Todd Gurley's prime was one of the most sensational acts we've ever seen from a running back. Like, when was the last time a running back was in the MVP conversation and probably should have won it? Like,
their stars were tied together. Their stars were tied together along with that LA offensive line.
So what Jeremy is alluding to is when this offense doesn't have a run game that can consistently pose a threat, Jared Goff is called upon to execute and make throws. He can't make throws. He is not the guy who needs to lead a football team unless you are a football team in the midst of a rebuild. And that's where the Detroit Lions are. So maybe the best thing that the Detroit Lions have going for them right now is Jared Goff.
I don't want to talk about Jared Goff forever, but there is one thing that I want to
It's where we have to start.
And this might be the only thing I have left to say about him, unless we want to already start talking about what the future is with him, which, I mean, Jesus, there's still 11 games left in this season. His body language is trash. You guys don't necessarily get to see this at home, but when he's not on the field, he is on the bench. He is by himself. Occasionally he'll have an iPad or Apple Surface or whatever, Microsoft Surface, whatever it is. And he's by himself. Like, the one engaging with the quarterback's coach is David Blau. The one getting up and stretching and talking to teammates is David Blau. Jared Goff, to me, looks just as bad on the sidelines as he does on the field. He does not look like a leader. He does not look like a guy that is ready for the task that's ahead of him. And the task that he should have known was his to begin with. Like, he knew he had to, reclaim his name. He knew he had a big task ahead of him in Detroit. And I don't see, like, everyone that wanted to interact with Jared Goff had to approach him. TJ Hawkinson sat next to him and talked to him for a good 5 minutes. Jared Goff is just, I don't know, like, it's not that he's checked out. It's just like he's a sad sack right now. He is Charlie Brown, just trying to kick the football, and when he misses, he just lays there on the ground and says, "Woe is me." Like, that's the kind of body language that he's giving off right now. And listen, I'm not usually this kind of guy. I'm usually more the analytics guy. I'm like, what you do on the field is more important than what you do on the sideline. But when it's not working on the field, and I look at you on the sideline, and you don't appear to be motivated to dig yourself out of this hole, you're not a leader. You're not a good football player. I don't want you as my quarterback. Simple as that.
Yeah, we learned this too on, like, before the season started, when he commented about expectations and everything else and how he was perceived, and he owned it then, and he's got to own it now. You mentioned David Blau, and this is probably where the conversation is going to go on Monday for most of Detroit sports media, and it's where it's already kind of going right now. And I've had plenty of names thrown to me on quarterbacks that people want to see Goff succeeded by even this year.
It's not going to happen.
Yes, no, I'm of your mind. Like, it sucks, and I don't even think Jared Goff right now is a top 32 quarterback in the NFL right now. But once you rip the Band-Aid off and put Blau in, there's no real going back to it. And I don't think there's no reason on God's green earth to trade for Minshew or for Flacco just so you can win a couple games to give away draft capital. And I know that Cam Newton is now vaccinated, but I don't know what good it's going to be to go out and sign him on a free agency deal for just to assuage your egos and, again, try to win a game and lose up more of your salary cap. It's a bad situation, but I don't know what the fix is other than sweating it out for 12 more weeks. There's just no good fix.
I think it comes back to Jeremy's point. I think that, Dan Campbell talking about how collectively they're going to look at the offense as a whole, right? And they're going to make a bunch of decisions when it comes to the offense as a whole. I think that Jared Goff is one of those decisions that I don't know if it'll be made in a week's time. I don't know if it'll be made in 2 weeks' time. I don't know if it'll be made before Thanksgiving. But at some point, the Detroit Lions have to say, this guy isn't who we want to be the guy at quarterback. And the quarterback position is such an important position because Jeremy's not talking about Julian Okwara's body language on the sideline. He's not talking about Aleem McNeil's body language on the sideline or, Matt Nelson's body language. He's talking about the quarterback. Okay. This is the guy who's supposed to rally the troops, the guy who's supposed to be in constant communication and contact. And you know what? If you're at 1 yard of offense through a quarter, you're probably trying to do something to fix that as the quarterback. And if there's no sense of urgency, then what are you doing to make this football team better? And I agree with you, Chris. Once you rip this Band-Aid off and once you make a change from Goff to Blau, unless Blau is injured, Blau is your quarterback. Because I don't think that there's any way that Jared Goff can redeem himself to this coaching staff. Like, I don't think that there's any going back. Once that genie comes out of the bottle, you're not putting him back in. So, I don't know when the right time is. I know, but here's the thing. I trust the coaching staff to know when the right time is.
I mean, listen, if this is going to happen, I think, and we all have to also, just maybe take a step back and take a deep breath and all this. Like, it feels like we've been swinging. Like, this team is 0-6, but it feels like we swing, one extreme to the other every week. Like, last week, it was like, wow, they almost beat Minnesota. Maybe this defense, the defense is getting better. We're seeing progression every week. And then, like, the Bears game happens and everything's horrible. And then, the Ravens game happens and now this game happens and now everything's horrible again. So, maybe they give the Rams a good shot next week. I don't think they're going to win. But after that, it's the Eagles. And then after that, it's the bye week. So if things continue and at its current trajectory with the offense specifically, because I do think there are good things that are happening on defense, they lose bad to the Rams. They lose bad to the Eagles. Well, then you're at the bye week. You're 0-8. You just lost to a real bad Eagles team.
Really bad Eagles team.
Maybe that's the time.
Yeah.
And also, like, everyone's talking David Blau. I think we all forget that this team probably likes Tim Boyle better. And probably by the bye week, probably going to be back on the sidelines again. So if there's a guy that they might turn to, I think it's probably Tim Boyle. And you're going to have to wait at least a few more weeks for that.
I at least, I'll say this for at least myself. I think this trajectory, I didn't think the Vikings was an upward trajectory for the offense. So I feel like this has been 3 weeks of steady, almost interminable decline where the offense is turning on later and later and later. And again, I go back to Dan Campbell's comment that even he's admitting that the only yardage we're getting right, that the Lions are getting right now, is when defenses fall back to cover 2 and prevent. Yeah. And has been at the heart of all these fourth quarter charges that people have lauded the offense for. But I also agree with Dan Campbell in that it's not, a lot of it's Jared Goff. He didn't want to put it all on Jared Goff. But there's also, like, again, I don't think any quarterback stepping in there is stepping into a great situation. I think the only question in your mind is, can they make better decisions than Jared Goff has? But it's still bad. It's still a lack of talent at receiver. It's still a banged off offensive line. It's still a run game that cannot get traction on the ground. So I don't know if replacing him does much other than just us watching the anger of fans, which might be all you really need right now, because fans are really pissed off after this game. And I know it's not the responsibility of the coach and the general manager to, play nice by the fans, but at the same time, like, it's the responses I saw after this game are getting nasty, and it's not just at Jared Goff, it's at everyone. I don't think that's fair, especially with such a long haul for this team. I'm with you though, Jeremy. I think bye week is probably where you look to that kind of change. I'll be interested to see if they go towards Blau or Boyle. But man, it's tough, man. It's tough.
The last thing that I want to say about the quarterback thing, and this is the point that I'm at with Jared Goff, is that, to Jeremy's point, like, if you're disinterested in showing up and competing at the highest level, and we have, offensive coordinators talking about, like, dialing back the verbiage and making things even more simple for you, and you're still looking at your wristband, and it's not even a point of maybe not being prepared, but like the execution thing is so big to me. But like, if you're disinterested in being the team's quarterback, then let somebody else do it.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of the end of it, is like, this was kind of the moment where every pin dropped. I still had some people that I've talked to on the national side who still would cling to stuff like Jared Goff's QBR. I don't want to hear that anymore. Everything about stat padding, it's true of Jared Goff. He's doing it at the end of the games. And even your coach is admitting it at this point. That's what Dan Campbell did. He basically admitted that Jared Goff is doing stat Padford at the end of the game.
And if you're stat Padford and you're finishing with 4.8 yards per attempt and a 67.8 passer rating, do I need to finish that sentence? I don't think I do.
No, you don't. It's your stat padding.
To be fair, though, his interception was not his fault. So good job.
No, that wasn't all on him. That wasn't all on him. But still, man, this was just. I think. Let me see. Let me look at his QBR. 13.4 right now. I'm not sure where we are.
In hell.
Yeah, in hell. In hell. I was hoping this would be more of a therapy session. I think we're in the rage side
Well,
of
no,
it.
that was us. The first segment was us getting our anger out.
Okay.
It was a release. Now we're gonna build ourselves back up in segments 2 and 3.
Yeah, because I do think, as you say, Jeremy, like as bad as it's getting, I watched that Dan Campbell press conference, and once again, maybe I'm being lured over by flowery words, but he did not mince anything about this. And I think that's important, especially with where this team is. And I think TJ Hawkinson, in spite of being hung on the entire game, did fairly well. But let's take a break. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about where the defense is on this game, which I know they got bullied around by the Cincinnati Bengals, but they certainly didn't do as bad as the offense in this game. And we're going to try to talk about what comes next. And we're going to try to do it all without throwing Jeremy down the rabbit hole of the draft yet. So
won't do it.
Which honestly, like not to throw it down there, but I don't even know if that answers at the top of the draft right now for Jared Goff, which makes us even more grim. But we'll put that aside and we'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast.
I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. Nope, didn't work. All right, we're just going
to. Oh, you're trying out the other. Yeah, we're on Zoom because we've got some technical difficulties on our end.
What is that? Are you playing with cards? What is that noise that I keep hearing? Is that? Oh, there's a dragonfly in here. That's what I keep hearing. That's fun.
Hello, everyone. Thanks all for tuning in for the post-game show. I think we had like 200 people. Joshua Mercer paid off his sub bet to you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Did not hit 350 receiving yards.
No, he did not.
Joe Burrow. People telling me this Patriots game is crazy, and based on the last few plays, that does appear to be true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put on DirecTV. I'm gonna have to put on my Sunday ticket while we're sitting here doing all this.
Mac Jones threw a pick six right before the 2-minute warning, and then the very next play he threw a 75-yard touchdown. And so now we're up 3 with 2 minutes left.
Good poise.
Imagine a 75-yard play. That's funny.
Imagine moving 75 yards in one drive.
Oh, God. The Lions had a 32-yard pass in this game, and it felt like nothing else happened.
Oh, that was the TJ Hawkinson pass, right?
That was, yes.
Where it seemed like the Bengals player had a really good opportunity to make a play on that ball and just missed it by like a nose hair.
Yep. He had, and then like he tried it again later in the game and almost got picked off.
Up until that happened, I'm pretty sure like Jared Goff had something like 40 net yards, and then the team it was like 60 net yards, but the team also had 40 yards in penalties.
Yeah,
that
was the other thing, man. This team just looked like shit. Like so many penalties and MAs, mental or missed assignments. Oh, God, it was just... That's the other thing I think I want to talk about a little more is just, like, all of those, like, happiness and rainbow stuff where it's just like, hey, look, week 1, the Lions fell behind a bunch, but, hey, they fought to the end. Not today, they didn't. I told you back then, like, yeah, it's easy to fight back in week 1 when everyone's just excited to be out there and play football. When you're 0-5 and your team sucks and your quarterback sucks and you're not scoring any points... Suddenly a lot harder to motivate those troops.
Yeah.
It's not so easy to keep telling yourself it's a rebuild. And I said that during the offseason. What is going to happen when turbulence hits? And what happens if this team is winless?
And yeah, I mean, like, listen, like, this isn't an easy job. I feel like this is a reason why Dan Campbell was hired is because they knew it was going to be tough sledding and they wanted to get a motivator. They wanted to get a guy that can somehow hold together the fort here because they knew
the guy who has seen winless himself personally.
Yeah. And listen, I don't, this is his first test. Like,
yeah,
this team has gone through some emotional losses. We all saw what happened last week, and you can try to connect the dots and say, it's such an emotional loss. Like, it really took something out of this team. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. But the thing you can't let happen is this sort of performance snowball. You can't let it continue.
Agreed.
And unfortunately, you got a really good team, and you're on the road on the West Coast next week, so it can certainly look like it snowballs when you're facing a team that's a lot better than the Bengals, to be quite honest. But yeah, that I think maybe that Eagles game is really going to be the litmus test, because if they come out flat against the Eagles,
It's a bad Eagles team.
I'm not buying all the sunshine and rainbows about the culture here if they're flat in that game.
Yeah, well, that's the important aspect of it, though, Jeremy, is like even when you ran the Dan Campbell approval poll, like this team was winless.
Yep.
But it's how they were winless, right? I mean, you're talking about the longest field goal in NFL history, and you're talking about another 54-yarder that beats you at the buzzer, and then there were games that they were in, but they ended up losing them. Like if they come out and they're flat in these next 2 weeks, yeah, that's concerning.
Let me tell you something. Detroit was a very trendy pick on the national side of things for the upset special of the week. And everyone was applauding on the national side Dan Campbell's emotion in that press conference after the Vikings game. And I think that, I saw all the people who I worked with at over the weekend picking the Lions for the upset. And I'm like, I'm starting to feel dread. I'm not the kind of person who gets bad juju like that, but I was feeling the dread. I started to hear that a little too much, because it's like it's almost too nice of a narrative in this. I just thought it would be closer. That's all. I thought it was going to be, because we had talked about it, Ryan, on the gambling podcast, like all but one of Cincinnati's games were decided by 3 points. I thought we'd be able to play the Bengals a little closer, and Joe Burrow reminded you why he's Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think one of my the reason why we all like Dave Burkett so much, he had a really good tweet where it was right after the game, and he's like, I definitely don't want to hear Dan Campbell talk about like how much this team fought today. Like,
I don't think Dan Campbell would ever say as much. Yeah,
and he didn't. So like, I like that Dan Campbell passed that test, because like that was one of the things that Patricia fell victim to all the time. Was like gotta coach better, gotta play better, gotta prepare better.
Falling back on the cliches. Yeah.
And Dan Campbell doesn't do that. So that's why it's tough, because like I said, it's really easy to say you're in a rebuild and embrace it when it's March. Mm-hmm. When it's October 17th and you're 0-6, then it becomes much more difficult. And if this team only wins a game or potentially goes winless, like, I'm going to say it, like, Dan Campbell's still the right guy for this job.
Yeah,
like,
you get 1 year, you get like, you still like the coaching staff. I get it, man.
Yeah, there's 11 games still to be played, and I get it. And I'm totally with Jeremy in the sense that like you can't look flat in these next 2 games leading into the bye week, or even coming out of the bye week, the Lions have to look like they've done something to just be competitive. And I think that's all that matters to Lions fans, is being competitive. These kinds of games, these are the kinds of games that remind us of like the Millen era.
Yeah.
Like just like an incompetent, uncompetitive team.
A lot of people are bringing up saying Marinelli has to be smiling somewhere. And I'm like, that's pretty grim, but yeah. Krolik wants
Rod Marinelli alive?
Yeah. Isn't he? He's still coaching.
God, that guy is old.
He's still coaching with the Raiders, I think. He's the D-line coach in Vegas. Due for a positional upgrade after John Gruden getting canned.
Good for him.
I want to talk about that in a second. We did get the impromptu list cast from Krolik 2, top 5 guys to draft at number 1. I'll be honest, I don't even think there's 5 guys I can list here. I'll just give you like Kayvon Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau. I understand why people like Kyle Hamilton. I mean, Kyle. I understand why people really like Kyle Hamilton, and he'd be a fantastic safety. But that's more of something that I'm sure Jeremy would like, which is trading back a few spaces.
I mean, if you're gonna bitch about this team taking a corner at 3, taking a safety at 1,
Safety at 1.
get out
Yeah.
of here.
No, it's Thibodeau. It's Thibodeau. I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm even taking Malik Willis off the board at this point. I think you get Malik Willis later in the draft, especially after the last couple games he's played.
Do we want to talk about it, Ryan?
I don't know. I'm not really. I don't care.
So I care. I care in this sense. I know that Jeremy wants his victory lap.
I don't want to. No, I'm not. No, there's no
How
victory
is it
lap.
a victory lap?
I don't know. I will say this. Because I do enjoy these comps. I think it was Kentley Platty who comped him to Patrick Mahomes, which is a hard comp. Oh, I know. He even admitted as much.
It was Corral that he
was it to Corral. Well,
Yeah.
my point on what was this?
He said he was a more physical Russell Wilson.
Physical Russell Wilson. That's right. I'm sorry. My bad. I think in both those regards, Corral, like it's hard to do the Mahomes comp, but he is the gunslinger that Mahomes was at Texas Tech. Whereas, Russell Wilson, Malik Willis, I think he had more rushing yards. He had more yards in the ground than he did passing yards against UL Monroe. And he also had 3 interceptions. His is a style that is just hyper unpolished, and needs time before it comes up to the NFL. And he didn't start the year like this, making a ton of plays with his legs, but now he's stuck making plays with his legs as they are playing. I can't even call UL Monroe that big of a competition. That's Sunbelt. So I think at this point, the between that, Sam Howell falling off radars and Spencer Rattler being annihilated completely, I think, look, the point is that the Lions are going to have probably a top 3 draft pick. They're going to have the Rams pick that's either at like 28, 29 or higher. And they're going to have a super early 2nd round draft pick. And this class is pretty deep for defensive talent. This might be the one year Jeremy gets me to admit to maybe trading back, unless you get number 1 and you get Thibodeau.
We're talking about the draft before Halloween. I want to die.
Yeah.
I want to die. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't.
Okay.
I'd rather talk more about Jared Goff than what we're going to.
Well, I gave my list cast, so we're done. We can move on. It's all right.
I almost want to just refund it anyways, out of spite.
We can do the other.
No more drafts.
Because
List casts. I'm refunding every single draft list cast we get until December.
You're gonna regret that come December 1st.
No, I'm not. Absolutely not.
No, you are gonna regret that because it's gonna be December 1st, and you're like, not until January.
Oh, damn it! You're right. I am gonna regret that.
There's a lot of football still left, even when we get to December.
Nick the Greek, thank you for the 200 bits. Zeus, thank you for the 14 months. Lions 1910 for the 12 months, and of course, no decaf for the 14 months.
by the way, since Zeus, I don't know if Zeus is still here, but !Discord. In the Pets of Detroit, there is a GoFundMe. Zeus's dog, Zeus, needs help with lymphoma. They're trying to pay for chemotherapy. So if you can go and help donate, the link is on our Discord right now. And I did ping everyone for it. So
Zeus is a good friend of ours. He's been one of the biggest supporters of the channel since the beginning, and someone I definitely call a friend. So if you can help out, please do.
Yes.
Make sure the invite link still does work.
So apparently the Vikings can't hit game-winning field goals except against us.
Why are you doing this, Chris?
I've got nothing else to do, man. I'm draining the last of my cold brew, hoping to stay awake. I'm watching. I've got on my other screen this Dallas New England game, which is going to go to overtime. And I don't feel. I feel like I feel like I'm becoming the Joker. Or is it the Riddler now? Is that going to be the new trendy thing with this new Batman movie? We're going to become the Riddler instead?
Yeah, it'll be something that Justice Mosqueda will tweet out like 40 times.
Oh, and then kill the joke completely? Great.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Robert Pattinson as the Batman, Ryan?
Why are you doing this to me, Chris?
I'm just asking you. We like talking about the Batman.
I don't like watching superhero movies anymore.
I don't either, but I'll make an exception for Batman.
I'm just glad someone's finally telling that story.
What about
Batman? About fucking the 5th Batman in the past 15 fucking years. What are we doing? I hope the strike never ends in Hollywood. I know they came to an agreement. I hope it doesn't get ratified and they never get a job. They never fix it.
Yeah. No supply chain for America. No movies for America. Jeremy is the actual accelerationist on this thing, not me.
What happened to like movie writers? When did that go out of style?
When Josh Whedon got a lot of money.
I don't even know who that is. I don't care. I don't want to be here.
I want to be around
I don't
anymore.
want to be around anymore.
No, it's not the first time the Riddler's been on the big screen. Have you forgotten Batman Forever?
Jace, you know why? Why? Why do you want my background to be Jared Goff? Why?
Because some men just want to watch the world.
I'm gonna find the most unflattering picture of Jared Goff and put it behind me.
That should be the song of the game. Kiss from the rose on the way. Ooh.
Why? What kind of file is that? Oh, JPEG. Oh, is that a JPEG? Whatever. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second.
That's fine. What else can we talk about, Ryan?
When we're gonna start segment 2.
Everyone's in a bad mood.
I just don't want to talk about this football team right now.
Where did it go?
Bogota Lions fan has subscribed. Thank you. Welcome in. We're all very tired.
Thick Boy 71. I've watched every Marvel and every DC movie, and I'm still hyped for more. Fight me. Send me your address.
Send me your address.
Meet me in Temecula.
Send me your address and put your social security account.
I'm not gonna fight you, but just realize that you're the reason why movies are terrible these days. Just know that. Just know it's specifically your fault.
I mean, we did finally get something interesting with The Last Duel, but I guess that's bombing really hard at the box office.
Yeah, it made like $4.8 million.
And $100 million budget.
Why can't I find this stupid?
And like a cast from God. I'm excited for Dune though. I've heard from some friends around LA like Dune is going to crush it. At least critically. I don't know how it'll do at the box office. I'm assuming by then you won't have to worry about Bond and Halloween though.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of a couple things. One, I don't know what to make of Married Life yet because it's only been like a week and a day.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, I don't know what to make of movies in theaters anymore. Like, I don't know what to make of that model. Like, it seems a bit archaic.
Yeah, especially if I can get something on HBO Max, I'm just going to throw it on there.
Like, I I don't know, like the appeal of going to the movie theaters anymore. Like, you're telling me I can stay at home and I can watch the movie, like HBO Max at least. Like, you're telling me I can watch the movie for free from the comfort of my own house. It's kind of like watching sports live. Like there has to be like some allure to like going to see a sporting event live, because watching it on my TV from the comfort of my own home and not having to deal with traffic or drunk assholes, like,
I was gonna say the better comp is watching
Jeremy.
it. Oh God,
what is that?
Jared Goff is right there.
I think the
You're
better
welcome.
comp, Ryan, is going to a sports or like a sports bar to watch a game. Which, yeah, it's cool.
I'd rather go to a sports bar than go to a game.
No, but I'm saying sports bar versus at home.
Oh yeah,
Like, I still think at home wins there. I sometimes
I think so, too.
going to the theaters. The problem has always just been price point for me. Like, I don't mind spending like, for a matinee ticket, but then you're spamming me like $10 for popcorn. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I haven't seen Airplane. Sorry.
Oh man, I love Airplane.
Whoa, how
Hold on,
have you not seen Airplane? Like, that's right up your wheelhouse.
Wait, remind me again, who was the one who hasn't seen a lot of Mel Brooks movies?
Me.
Yeah. Jeremy saying he hasn't seen Airplane takes away any credibility from the Mel Brooks list cast we did.
That seems harsh.
Eat shit.
Why is Jared Goff wearing number 9?
I don't know, because this is a dumb graphic that was probably made right after the trade. Good job, Clutch Points.
Okay, let me help you out here. Was that a list cast for
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do this real quick and we'll get right back to it because I know you guys just don't.
I've seen enough clips of Airplane where it's like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being and the old lady being like the jive translator. Yep. There you go. 1.
No, number 1 is, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Very funny.
You need the context to it, which you don't have because you haven't seen the fuck.
Because that clip amongst all of them have been just run into the ground. Like,
well, just anything from the captain is great. It's like, have you ever been in a Turkish prison? You've been in a plane cockpit before? You've seen a grown man naked?
Was this worth it? Was this worth a list cast? Just
no. So number 3 is always the one everyone does. I am serious and don't call me Shirley. Number 4, once again, I'm gonna have to go back to the captain. Give me ham on 5 and hold the mayo.
I can hear you just fine, Ryan, and see you just fine.
For a second, it said my internet connection is unstable and you guys sounded like robots. And I was like, I don't care. I'll quit. Dump it. It's all trash.
We should get going, though, by the way. Because this Zoom file is going to be extremely large and take all night for me to download if we go 2 hours, which we shouldn't do.
Yeah, we're not. I'm just,
I
don't think I'm allowed to say number 5 on my list, to be honest.
Probably not. Airplane is a movie from 1980.
That's why I didn't see it. Despite what you think I wasn't born yet.
Red Wings, I don't know if the Red Wings look good, but they look fun.
Jesus Christ. I hate everything about this right now. This like, I'm not even upset that the Lions are bad. I'm just upset that I have to deal with this. I have to deal with draft talk and talking about, we just got football back. I just started going to football games again after taking last year off, and we're already talking about things that aren't football, like the draft, or hockey, or Airplane the movie, or fucking Batman the 20th
You know what? You'll like this. The Lion season is like the Family Guy line about the Mets. There's the first pitch, and the season is over.
Great. We're making fucking Family Guy references.
Here's the kickoff for the Detroit Lions, and the season is over. Bad. All right, yeah, I agree. We should get back into it. Let me pull up my stopwatch. Pretty sure Dallas and New England are going to go for a tie.
I also, I think your boy Merrick asked me if I'm doing a honeymoon, and God, I hope so. So I don't have to watch another week of Lions football.
First lines of week 7 are out. Anyone want to take a guess? Take a stab?
Minus 21.
Rams minus 13.5.
So close. They gave him the touchdown and the hook.
Wait, only a touchdown?
An extra 14.5.
14.5? Okay.
I'll take the Lions.
I liked looks like my Bengals -3 first half bet. You listen to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nailed it.
Let's get back to it. We're back on a very seething Pride of Detroit POD cast. Even though we got rid of Jared Goff during the break, I think the seethe came back. We recharged the seethe. No cope can overcome this. Where I really want to highlight Dan Campbell's press conference, besides what I've talked about it, because I thought it's a fascinating look into the insight of the team. So we can either do that or we can talk about the rest of the offense. Jeremy, since you seem to be the one who is taking this to heart right now, where do you want to start next? We have no blueprint for this.
Okay, let me talk about the rest of the offense. Let's talk. Let's talk about Dan Campbell now.
Okay, so what you because you were there in that room. What did you think of Dan? We watched it on the post game stream. On Twitch, and I thought he composed himself very well. I think when he was baited to talk about Jared Goff, he resisted it very well, because I don't think that's a conversation you have that you haven't. If it doesn't sound like it, that's a conversation that's new internally.
Yeah,
that's fairly new internally, and you don't have that conversation with the outside until you've had that conversation inside. When he rebuked Eric Woodyard, the ESPN writer. Not in a nasty way, but just like, he's not going to put Jared Goff out to dry.
Right.
But then you could see, and he took a long pause during that press conference, because I think he knew at that point he had to say something to acknowledge Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And what happened. And I think he measured his words very well. I think some fans wanted to hear a lot more harsher. They wanted to see Dan Campbell hang Jared Goff out to dry. But again, that was probably the most diplomatic you could be without being just completely dismissive of the problem of Jared Goff.
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of nailed it. Like, obviously he came in heated. Dan Campbell was as heated as we've ever seen him. He was very upset with the team's. He never said effort. He said focus. He said the team didn't look focused today, and a lot of mental errors, a lot of penalties. The Goff stuff is interesting for sure, because I think you're right. I think he was trying to protect Goff as much as possible. I mean, really, since Goff has landed, the Lions have tried to protect him emotionally as much as possible, right? Like, and understandably so. Like, that dude just got ran out of town in Los Angeles, and McVay and company did not really ceremoniously say, "Hey man, goodbye. Like, thanks for all your work." It was like, they booted him.
That ESPN report torched him. That ESPN report torched him about like how bad it was.
And so, yeah, I think Campbell did a really good job of like kind of threading the needle there, where he's just like, I mean, he took a long time to, like, you could see, and he does this a lot, but maybe none as long as this one, where it was literally like a 10-second break where he goes, "I'll tell you this."
Yeah, he's measuring his words.
I feel like he needs to step up in more than he has. Like, and like, that's, maybe Lions fans want to hear him stomp on Goff while he's down, but I don't see what that accomplishes in any sort of way. Maybe they want to see him move on from Jared Goff right away, but again, like, do you guys remember David Blau? Like, I don't. I know everyone's like, well, at least we'll throw it downfield. Well, if you're throwing interceptions, that's not really necessarily great, necessarily better at all. So I think in terms of when he talked about Goff, I understood it. I got it. I think he did what he needed to do there. In terms of just the fieriness in general, interesting. Not surprising in any sort of way. But here's my concern is like, okay, now the Lions are 0-6. They're the only winless team. And Dan Campbell has now shown the range of emotions in the past 2 weeks that are going to catch headlines, national headlines. Last week it was crying. This week it's being angry. So like, and I know none of this really matters, but it's annoying. But I feel like this is the week that like the national media is going to start turning, where it's just like, is Dan Campbell the right guy for this job? He's too emotional. He's lost control of the team. And if he's this emotional, just imagine how emotional the team is and things like that. And of course, I roll my eyes at all that. Like, yeah, players are going to get mad when they lose. Players are going to be emotional when they lose. Like, that's called being human. And I appreciate Dan Campbell showing the human side of that and being frustrated. And listen, like Ryan said, I guess this was probably during the break. I don't remember if it was during the break or whatever. It's like, what we didn't want to see, what we're sick of seeing is like, you know, we worked hard this week in practice. We're just going to put our nose down and grind harder. He was like, no, what happened today, unacceptable. Unacceptable. And it's on me, sure. It's on the players maybe, but it's unacceptable. And it's not going to happen again. And if it does happen again, it's on me and something needs to change. And that's the thing he kept saying. Like, he's like, I got all these ideas swimming in my head about changing the offense. We got to make some changes. We got to do some changes. It's not just the same old Fed line. And listen, you're not going to win games in a press conference, so ultimately, who cares? But it's different. It's interesting. The press conferences are kind of fun, if I'm being completely honest. Certainly more fun than the game was today. But yeah, I mean, Dan Campbell's just kind of always must-see TV when he steps in front of a podium, and this week was no different.
I don't have much to add on the Dan Campbell front, if I'm being honest. I think Jeremy did a pretty good job of summing everything up. I think I'm with him though, and this will be something that I'll find frustrating. Is this week, like I do think the national media is they're gonna smell the blood in the water, and it's gonna be an opportunity because last week wasn't like last week. Like that's a guy being emotional, and I think in the climate that we're in, I think that people will back down from doing that because they know that they'll get backlash. I think this week is a week where it's like, you think Eric Bieniemy would be 0-6? You think so-and-so would be 0-6? That's what's going to happen. And again, it comes back to whether or not the Lions as an organization can weather the storm. And they don't cave to that outside pressure. And they don't cave to like making wholesale changes or sweeping changes or you know, being too reactionary. Like that's my concern right now is that the people up at the tippy top, I hope that they're trusting. It's stupid. It's Sam Hinkie and it's the Philadelphia 76ers, but I hope that they're trusting the process. Like,
well, I push back a little bit just because my theory is that a lot of this is going to fall on Jared Goff for a lot of this game. And like, yeah, maybe the frustration of him towards Goff is going to be seen as a little untoward, and it's going to bring out comparisons that maybe Campbell's a little in over his head, but at the same time, like there was no hiding how bad Goff is. And as I said before, like we have the track record on other places saying that, like LA saying this is who Jared Goff is. And I'm wondering how much is from the national side is going to be on Dan Campbell and how much is going to be on Jared Goff. And I'm wagering a little more on Jared Goff than Dan Campbell, but I mean, I could see it either way.
I mean, here's the real truth behind all this. Like we're talking about what the national media is going to say about the Lions. Truth of the matter is they're not going to talk about media. They're not going to talk about the Lions.
No, the Lions are the sad sack, and they're just going to chart them for the first overall pick. The local media, however, you want to talk about resisting the urge to make a head roll. The local media is going to be where a lot of the blood's already in the water for everyone.
I made the mistake, as I often do in home games, listening to 97.1 on the way home.
Oh man!
And I think the first
I should make you put $20 in the jar just for mentioning that on air.
So this isn't a shot at them; it's more of a shot at their listeners, because the very first caller was like, "I think Dan Quinn has got to go."
Okay, so here's
Dan
the thing, because
Quinn.
I saw this in our own post game show with people chiming in saying wanting Anthony Lynn gone, and instead you hit me with that. That's
Dan
impressive,
Quinn.
actually.
Yes, whoever. Dan Quinn.
I'm sorry, that's
Bro, I know who
impressive.
Dan Quinn is, but-
That's
Yeah.
impressive in a bad way.
But no, I mean, let's get off the media narrative for a bit, because I think that's
yeah,
too much
I think we're
navel-gazing
stuck in a
here.
hole here. Yeah.
Here's one of my concerns about the game, and obviously I think Dan is concerned about it too, is just the way it finished, because we'll talk a little bit more about the defense in the final segment. I know we keep teasing that, but they were great in the first half, and they looked like they gave up in the second half. Like, some people were mentioning how the sideline demeanor was so much different than it was through the first 5 games, and I saw it on the field too, man. Like, these guys just didn't look like they were giving it them all. And I'm not one that wants to call out someone's effort, because it's hard to see effort sometimes. But Amani Oruwariye said it after the game, like, he did not recognize that defense in the second half. That's not who they were. They came out, punched the Bengals in the mouth in the first quarter. I know they gave up a touchdown drive on the very first one, but they rebounded nicely. And then the second half, nothing was working. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. Pass rush wasn't there. Just nothing was working in the second half there defensively. And that, to me, was almost more disappointing than the offensive performance. It was just how everything fell apart in that game, where nothing was going right at the end of it. No one was playing well. Like, if you could point to 3 players that played well in this game, could you do it?
No, I couldn't do it. But to Jeremy, to your point, how much of that do you think plays into effort, and how much of that do you think plays into time of possession? And
that's
Yes, the Bengals held the ball for 36 minutes in this game.
And just feeling absolutely deflated that even when you do force a stop, your offense goes 3 and out, or goes backwards, or throws a pick, or, I see the other side of that as well.
Sure. No, and that's important, but resilience, like, is battling through all that sort of stuff.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Resilience is there, but I think the flesh can kind of fail where the spirit might not. Especially, like, I thought no better about this when the Lions had the ball a minute 43 to end at the end of the first half. You're tasking Jared Goff with a 2-minute drill, and the offense only takes 12 seconds off the clock. And now the defense has to go back out there. Like, I can excuse the defense a little bit in that they were probably dog tired in this game.
No question.
They had to stand on their head against Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Chris Evans, like, the whole day.
You're not wrong. It's just, I don't know. To me, the defense had stepped up in moments like that. And I mean, it's not like the offense's struggles are new. It's something that they've been used to, and they've hung on to. And we keep talking about the grit of this team and the mental fortitude and things like that. And it wasn't there today. And listen, like, bad games are going to happen. Like, if you looked at that morning slate of games, they were all bad. The Chargers dropped an egg. The Texans, well, the Texans are the Texans.
We expect that from the Texans. The Bears dropped a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, all these games are 38-11, 31-3, 34-11.
Washington was clinging in there with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they end up getting smoked by almost 20 points in the end.
Bad games. My only point is that bad games happen, and so as long as this sort of stuff doesn't snowball, that's the key here, is that the Lions can't let these sort of efforts snowball, because it's not the only time we've seen it happen. Like, they weren't very good in that Bears game either, but they bounced back and played at least a decent game against the Vikings. So now it's going to be a tall task, but they got to bounce back this upcoming week and at least compete against these guys, the Rams. It's a unfortunate kind of position to be in. The schedule has done this team absolutely no favors, and they're not going to do them favors next week. But listen, like, as these losses pile up, it's going to take in a more and more emotional toll. It's going to be harder and harder to fight in those fourth quarters when the offense isn't producing, when you're down 13 points and you can't give up another point. Otherwise, it's going to be a 3-score game. Like, it's not going to be easy. And again, that's why Dan Campbell's here, because he's an extreme motivator. But those are being tested to the limit at this point, and I feel like we're dangerously close to dropping off a cliff here because it's happened in the past. I don't want to make too many comparisons to the previous regime, but like I can't help but think of that Packers game, the Monday night game, and then the following week they just get toasted by the Vikings and then the rest of the season's over. Like they can't let that happen. They need some sort of thing to cling on. And again, I'll bring up Amani Oruware's press conference, and I thought this was one of the more interesting things he said, was that he didn't think they were losers in this locker room this year. He's been on the team for 3 years, and this year he doesn't think they're losers in the locker room. And you know what that means? You know what the implication there is, right? There were
the losers aren't there anymore.
Yeah, there were losers that would cave in these sort of moments. So if you are to believe Amani Oruware, they're going to mentally withstand all of this. But I think I need to see it as a Lions fan who have seen too many of these seasons just collapse on the way out. I need to see it, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Like they've bounced back from some bad performances already this year, but I'm worried. I'm worried.
I understand kind of collapsing down the stretch just because the season is long and the mental toll is there.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I completely understand it. Even though so I'm not going to kill him too hard on that. If it means next season at least you come back and you just still are able to shake it off. And good news for the Lions is they've gone through this before. Bad news is that we're going through it again. And that's kind of the rub in all of this. I want to take a quick break here. We should at least end with some player evaluations, maybe some studs that we can talk about, maybe some Fugazi performances, and try to bring a little bit of individual performance analysis to this before we close the casket on the Bengals-Lions game. We'll close out the Pride of Detroit PODcast next. All right.
Sorry, chat. Didn't mean to be so negative. I can't help it. It's because you guys talked about Batman. That's why.
The Batman. The Batman. The Batman.
I watched the trailer today. I'm just like, okay, this looks like a Batman movie.
Yeah, it's another Batman movie. That's all I need. Anyway, now there's talk about Lynn and USC in the chat too, so this is fun.
Maybe we should have gotten into that because I still don't really understand the Lynn hate.
It's Rogue Boosters.
Well, no, I don't. Not even that. I feel like people just want Lynn out, and I mean, I don't know what does he need to be calling better? What does he need?
I think you raised a great point earlier on. There's no way to simplify this anymore. If Jared Goff still can't get it, then that's on him. That's not on Anthony Lynn.
I mean, when there are players that are open that Jared Goff is missing, or I don't know. Like last week, the buzz was Chris mentioned it, or I don't know, maybe Ryan mentioned the whole shortening the playbook, shortening the wordage, the verbiage and the verbiage. Like I don't know, like that was that ever going to fix things? Was that the issue that there was just too many words?
Is it that he's just not running? Is it that he's just not running the ball more? But I mean, the guys on the ground, Jamal Williams didn't have a good day. DeAndre Swift didn't have a good day on the ground.
The offensive line is starting to catch up with him, man.
Yeah,
the Bengals are a good run defense, and they've got
some people wanted to kill Penei Sewell for this game, but guess what? He's going to be handling the biggest threats, and he can't always do what he did to Bosa on week 1.
Yeah, but he played like crap.
He did play like crap, but I'm just saying, he's got a very tall task for a rookie.
Well, everybody said he was the right pick at number 7.
I think he is. He needs time. I know where you're going with this, but I have literally been threatening to ban people on the Discord if they keep doing this Rashawn Slater shit nonstop because it's getting old.
No, it's just everybody told me he'd be fine if he switched positions. That it wouldn't be Eric Schlitt said it.
You're talking right tackle, left
about
tackle.
him playing right tackle wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't played right tackle yet. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Except for in the preseason where he looked like shit. Yeah, he hasn't played an NFL game at right tackle.
Okay, I agree then. We agree then. So he didn't look good in his very first attempt at an NFL game after a year off at right tackle.
Slater also is not being asked to prop up a battered injury.
Oh my God, I'm not even thumping for Slater. Right
That's exactly what you were doing.
I'm responding to something else that was that's in chat. That's all. I'm not. That wasn't on Ryan. That was on Ryan. That was on.
Come on, let's not play games here. That was the insinuation that they should have taken Rashawn Slater. Right?
No. What I'm saying is that Sewell is not playing well right now.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they should have made a different decision. I'm saying objectively it's true.
Yes.
Penei Sewell has been bad.
Yes.
Like bad.
Okay. Yes.
Bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
He hasn't been great out of the gate.
Both offensive tackles have been very bad.
The entire offensive line has been bad.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that was supposed to be the strength of this team that we talked about all off season long sucks. They're terrible.
Kind of. I mean, yeah. That's what happens when you take away the two best players on the unit.
Yeah, but like so you see how like I don't know. Like it sucks that like the unit that everybody talked about as being the strength of this team isn't going to take a single snap together. And beyond that, there aren't like once some of those other pieces fall by the wayside, Frank Ragnow goes on IR, Taylor Decker dealing, with his finger issue and stuff and being on IR himself, like these guys like would be propped up by those other players.
Yep.
Like propped up by Frank Ragnow and how good he is and how good Taylor Decker is. Like right now there are no like studs along the offensive line.
Right. And the one thing I think we all agreed upon too in the offseason was we were praising the offensive line, saying it could be really, really good. But then on the other hand, most of us, at least the ones who were paying attention, were also saying, but it's incredibly thin. There isn't a backup offensive tackle. There isn't a backup center. There aren't any backup guards that have proven anything in this league. And unfortunately, it's come down to that. They're testing an offensive tackle who played defensive tackle for his entire career, and it's not working out. And they're playing a center who looked god-awful in training camp. And to be fair, Evan Brown is not playing poorly. I'd be curious to go back and look how he performed today, but given that they couldn't run anything up the middle, I'm guessing it wasn't great.
So what is your list cast? I think it got pushed off the table.
Man, and Chris Burke tweeted out something that I completely forgot that Dan Campbell said in this press conference, and I felt like we probably should have talked about, which is that he basically said like he can't fully evaluate Jared Goff right now because of how everyone else is playing right now, and that is super interesting to me because Brad Holmes was asked that exact same question right after cutdown. Someone said, given the wide receiver room, where they're at, a bunch of young, unproven guys, do you think you're in a position right now to properly evaluate Jared Goff? And he said yes. He said absolutely. I don't agree with your assessment of the wide receiver group. I think they're good enough that we can assess Jared Goff. Absolutely. Now Dan Campbell, 6 weeks in, maybe not, which is interesting.
That's been the one thing that every Jared Goff supporter has said up until this point, though, right? Yep. Like how can you evaluate a guy who doesn't have who everybody thought was going to be wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 at the beginning of the year and has 3 backups on the offensive line.
Remember when Matthew Stafford didn't like his performances of actually playing really well but still losing was like, oh, well, he
does everything but win.
Right. Like I don't know where my point was going. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. What are you talking about? Like how Matthew Stafford wasn't able to do the things that like people say that Peyton and Tom Brady did, where like you elevate the level of play of like the people around you.
Right.
Jared Goff can't even imagine doing that in his dreams.
Right.
But he went to a Super Bowl.
Hooray.
All right. And no, I need to get to this from SC Ghost because I think he's been trying to get in here 6 times. So it's not a list cast, but he says, any chance Lions change their uniforms next year? Because I keep associating them with Patricia. In parentheses, get William Clay Ford off the sleeve.
I doubt that's going to happen. But yeah, next year is when they can legally change their uniforms, I believe. And Rod Wood was asked that this offseason, and he said they're in very, 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 very early conversations about that, which is basically his way of saying, like, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't.
Would be nice. I'm not a huge fan of the current ones right now.
I'm not allowed to buy jerseys, so I don't care. Change the numbers so that I can actually.
Could you buy Jared Goff? I'll help you buy Jared Goff's jersey. It helps you get him off the team faster.
No, absolutely not. I will not own a Jared Goff jersey ever. Well,
segment 3.
Segment 3.
Defense. Finally,
let's do it.
All right.
I am resilient. You guys can't destroy me.
Jerry Jacobs is just retweeting everyone that mentioned his name right now.
Jeez. That's always a great sign.
I mean, he's doing with all the good stuff.
Oh, with the good stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I saw some people killing him for it, but again, I'm sure we'll talk about it here. Yeah,
we will.
First year playing cornerback and didn't even know he was going to make the team. I think he's exceeded expectations. All right, we might as well finish up and ripping this Band-Aid off the Pride of Detroit POD cast. This will go up along with our post-game show for a cornucopia of seethe, cope, and just emotion. I want to try to highlight some performances we can talk about individually for people not named Jared Goff. I think a good place to start is probably on the defense. We did just talk about how I don't think they did great overall as a whole just because they had to stand on their head for 36 minutes, but I'd like some individual performances, Jeremy. I liked Derek Barnes in this game, and I know he's being asked to do a lot, but Jerry Jacobs still seems to be the diamond in the rough that the Lions, I don't think, realized they had. And I think for someone who wasn't even supposed to be on the team, still comports himself fairly well out there, especially when he's not getting a lot of help from the rest of that secondary.
I could talk probably this entire segment about Jerry Jacobs because I find his performance fascinating and mostly positive. Because first of all, let's be clear. This is Jerry Jacobs' second start in the NFL. Was a guy that probably most didn't expect to make the team. He was a guy that didn't win the starting job besides all of, the injuries and stuff like that. They were still putting converted safety Bobby Price ahead of him. And then he goes into this game, still not the number one cornerback, but the Lions trusted him so much to shadow Jamar Chase, the offensive rookie of the year so far. Follow him almost the entire game. And what does he do? He nearly pitches a shutout in the first half on this guy. This guy that no one else has been able to stop. And he's playing him tough. And he's playing him well, and he's pressing him, I talked to Manny about this, and he's like, yeah, he was pressing him, and no one had bothered to even try pressing Jamar Chase so far, and he did, and it was working. And listen, he ends up getting beat by 2 big plays, and it looks bad, and Jamar Chase finishes with, I don't know, probably close to 100 yards.
97 yards, but only 4 receptions.
Right.
Which is, I think, the big takeaway there.
And the big, if you want to dissect the big plays, like the first one leads to the field goal at the end of the half. It sucks. It's bad. His coverage isn't horrible. It takes a perfect pass to beat him. Will Harris is a little bit late to get there, but probably too much to ask Will Harris from center field to get all the way to the sidelines. So tough break. That's one where you're just like, you know what? You got beat by a perfect play and a really good player. You can shrug your shoulders on that one, move on. The other one, I still have to figure out what the hell happened on that one, because it looked like Jerry Jacobs was passing it off to Tracy Walker, and Tracy Walker jumped in early, an underneath route. And so there was no safety help over there. Probably should have had better coverage in general, but he's very clearly looking for safety help, whether it was a mental error on his part, or Tracy Walker's part. We'll see. But outside of that, like, he was good. He was really good. Forced a fumble on one play. Didn't recover, but forced a fumble on a good tackle. I think he had a pass defended on a pass that wasn't thrown to Jamar Chase. I think, look, is Jerry Jacobs going to be a starting cornerback for this team in the future? I can't tell you right now. But for an undrafted rookie in his second career start, going against one of the better wide receivers in the league, I thought he played a hell of a game. And the PFF grade might not show it. The stats in terms of completions and all that stuff might show it. That was a ballsy performance by him, and I'm coming away from this game again feeling pretty good about Aaron Glenn and the way he's coaching up the secondary, because this is the second or third guy where we're just like, he's starting to look the part. And listen, that's a hell of a thing to do when you're on your fourth or fifth string guy in his rookie season.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the guys who stood out on defense was Aleem McNeil, and I think that he may have had one of his better games that he's had all season long. I mean, not only was he, I thought that he was a solid anchor in the middle for the run game in terms of run defense, but he even got to Joe Burrow for a quarterback hit where he pressured him into a bad throw. I thought, for somebody who has kind of been flying under the radar, like he's had like maybe a play in a game, or, you know, it seems like, you know, he's not getting enough snaps because he is the nose tackle. Today, I thought that there was just multiple times where I was like, oh yeah, there's Aleem McNeil making a play. Like, and that's a good thing. You know, there were plays where I saw like Levi Onwuzurike. He was getting double teamed. Like, I mean, that's quite the respect that you're showing to a rookie right there, you know, double teaming him. And I thought probably the interior of the defensive line, like they seemed like passable to me. Like some of them made some really good plays, like I mentioned with Aleem McNeil and Onwuzurike, but even Brockers got in there a couple times. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm really stretching myself for some positives, guys.
I feel like Derek Barnes is probably mine. If I'm looking at this right, he played 31 snaps. Alex Anzalone, by the way, almost on the field the entire time, but Anzalone, Barnes had a pass breakup, I believe, later in the game, which was fantastic. I know he had kind of a rough, once the packing tape was off and everyone was calling for Derek Barnes to start, and he didn't look exactly like the savior that people were hoping, but I thought he was, I thought he still had some flashes here. Again, that pass breakup was very good, and I think that there's some hope for the future where he's concerned.
Yeah, no question. I didn't think it was a particularly great day from the other two linebackers. I thought there was way too many.
Yeah, Jalen Reeves-Maybin.
Meet Chris Evans.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough matchup for him, especially with no over the top help, but you can do a better job than that. Like, Jalen Reeves-Maybin can do a better job than that. That was a poor rep, and yeah, it was not a clean rep. And I don't know, man, like I don't want to keep harping on how disappointed I was in defense in the second half, but I don't know what happened to the run defense in the second half. They were doing an okay job on Mixon beforehand, and then just like no one could tackle the dude. Yeah,
something else that stood out to me, and you talked about being impressed with Aaron Glenn and what he's done with the secondary. I really like that play call where Julian Okwara was a free rusher on that sack.
Yep.
Just from the pre, you know, the look that the Bengals got pre-snap, it looked like there was going to be pressure up the middle in the A gap, and then they pull back and leaves an unblocked guy, and Julian Okwara cleans it up. And credit to him for actually making the sack. I feel like sometimes edge rushers, when they have that free pass and they're unblocked, might seem like a play where a quarterback, even a guy like Burrow, could make a guy miss. But good on him for getting home. Amani Oruwariye, I mean, had a pick. I mean, come on. I mean, that's 3 for the guy already this year, right?
It is.
A lot of that A gap pressure was like, I know, again, he wasn't particularly too well, but he was also asked to go out there the entire day. But I thought Alex Anzalone created a lot of pressure that opened up stuff like Okwara as well.
They're certainly not afraid to send pressure, and that's something I respect about Aaron Glenn, and I think it's worked out for the most part. And yeah, like I mean, I don't know what else to say about the defense. Like, it's great that they are producing some turnovers. 4 straight games with an interception is good. It's just it needs to be more consistent. It needs to be for an entire game. And listen, like, we all know what the deal is with they're playing so many young guys at every level right now. You're going to have mental errors. You're going to have mistakes. You just kind of hope they clean it up sooner rather than later, because the offense is not giving them any margin for error.
Well, let me give you guys three more points I had written down. And maybe this is kind of how we round out everything. Maybe get away from the offense from the defense and talk some offense and special teams. So was there an offensive player that stood out for you at all? If you need help, I will take TJ Hawkinson off the board, but I don't think I need to.
I don't have anybody. I'm sorry. I don't. Nothing's working.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's a fair answer.
Like,
that's a fair answer.
Amon-Ra got a lot of looks his way, but he also fumbled the ball / got intercepted. So can't really pat him on the back too much. I kind of refuse on principle to give anyone on the offense credit for the performances that they laid out there today.
Okay, fair enough.
I like Dan Campbell, I'll take my 10-second pause and I'll just say that
Please don't do that. That's bad for air.
they just have to play better.
Fair enough. I guess the other 2 questions then, and this is where I'm going to get a little flip. The first one's not going to be as flippant. The second one will be flippant. How do we feel about Tom Kennedy siding into kick returns, how he did there, and how he's just in general performed? Someone wanted to talk about him at one point on Discord, and I just had no data available was my answer.
There was one kick return where he was about 4 or 5 yards deep in the end zone, and he took the ball out, and I was like, this is a guy who's getting his shot and he's taking it. that was the only thing I could think about Tom Kennedy all game long. I was like, this guy's in an NFL game. He's gonna take his shot when he's got it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm
looking here.
Caught a pass.
He had 4 kick returns. 3 of them he returned short of the 25-yard line, which I think is a failure. Because a touchback gives you the 25-yard line.
It sounds so harsh.
He also had a brutal block in the back on a punt that put the Lions at their own 5-yard line, but he also had a 15-yard catch. So congratulations, Tom Kennedy, on your awesome day.
Okay. Here comes the flippant one then. Do you think Jack Fox would get a draft pick if we traded him?
Can we stop the podcast, please?
I'm just asking. I think
he's our best offensive player right now.
He's a franchise punter.
He's the franchise. He's the best offensive player because if it weren't for Jack Fox, the defense would be taken over at the 50-yard line every game.
Yeah, well, you know how I know he's the best offensive player? Because the guy who's the quarterback threw the ball away
hoping that he would take the field.
Jared Goff is like, I see the flag. It's going to be holding. I'm going to let Jack Fox take care of this. Oh, wait. They can decline penalties.
They can decline penalties. The only failure in my master plan, the one thing I have not calculated for. I think you guys are right. This is about time to end this early.
Oh, we're not going to go 20 minutes on Rams week coming up, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Can we just forget that exists?
Yeah. Also,
I'm going to block Jeremy on Twitter this week because all he's going to be talking about is Stafford, and it's going to be so cloying and it's going to be so desperate that even I, someone who loves Stafford, is going to tap out.
We forgot to call Jack Fox what he is, and that's a field optimization specialist.
Thank you. It's a good point.
FOS?
That's a good catch.
An FOS?
That's what he calls himself on his. I said I wasn't ever going to call him the P word again. I was going to call him a
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was unaware of this.
Yeah.
Big FOS.
By the way, I'm coming to LA, baby.
Are we getting food?
Maybe.
I I don't know if I want to make the trek down. This is a sign that I live in the San Fernando Valley. I don't know if I want to make the trek down to Inglewood. It's too long of a drive. I don't want to drive on 405.
Fair enough.
Yeah. You know that life.
I do.
All right. Well, let's get everyone out of here because I feel like if this goes on any further, someone's going to collapse, someone's going to snap, and I don't know how we're going to survive this season. I really don't.
This was supposed to be fun, remember? We were all at the beginning of the year like, we know it's going to be bad, but it's going to be fun. Dan Campbell's going to make it fun. Today was not fun. Where's my fun, Chris? I was promised fun.
If I come up with some game shows for you next time, will you have fun or will you just keep storming in here?
I can't promise anything.
Fun has to begin with a self.
They better be good games.
I can't promise you that.
Well, then I can't promise you.
I have no power here to promise anything like that.
I did buy a bottle of wine that I was going to open after the Lions got their first victory, and I bought it back in August.
Oh my God. You're not going to have that until the new year.
It's gonna be pretty vintage come next September.
You're assuming that the first win's going to come in next September.
No, they're not going 0-17. Now, if I could take back my 4 wins bet, I absolutely would at this point. But they're not going 0-17.
Well, I picked this team to go 3-14. How am I the one who feels bad right now?
Jeremy, that feels like a really gross hedge.
That's not even a hedge.
Is it doubling down if you're saying like I wish I could take back my 4 wins bet, but they're absolutely not going 0-17?
Yeah,
like
no, that's
what is that?
I am confident this team is going to win 1 to 3 games. And nothing outside of that range.
We are in hell. We'll be back next week. We are coming up on I just realized we have to play the Eagles on Halloween.
Ooh.
I don't like what you just did to me there.
Zombie slay.
Oh my God. He is going to murder Jared Goff's balls.
Okay.
Wow. That was taken out. I did not mean to
down.
do that. I did not mean to do that like that. Wow. Wow. Okay. Yep. For myself, for Ryan Matthews, for Jeremy Reisman, for this entire godforsaken, cursed last day of Mercury in retrograde, all I'm going to say is we're going to see you Starside.